and welcome to this episode of Kidneys in the Kitchen. I'm your host, Melissa Prest, a registered dietitian with the National Kidney Foundation of Illinois. And with me is our guest today, Pushpa Soundararajan, who will be talking with us about flavoring our food with herbs and spices and limiting the salt when we're cooking, since we know salt is obviously something we want to watch for and not use a lot of when we have kidney disease. So welcome, Pushpa.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm hoping to share a lot of information about spices and how wonderful that can make your food.
Yeah, awesome.
Without the salt.
Do you want to tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm in private practice, and majority of my patients are CKD patients, level, grade 3, level 3, 4, and 5 before dialysis. So a lot of my patients, they're not in the end stage in the sense of dialysis, of course, but then they do have to limit salt and potassium in some cases, and sometimes phosphorus too. So I do recommend a lot of spices because that gives so much of flavor to the food. And not only that, spices have other qualities, like it helps you digest your food better and things like that. A lot of our elderly patients have issues with digestion. So I will be explaining a lot of that as we go on.
Awesome. And so we have, and I'll just show you really quickly what we have and what we're talking about today. So we have a variety of spices here that Pushpa is going to go through and talk a bit about. We also will be making some spice mixes. So we're going to make these 3 spice mixes today on air. So then you guys can, kind of see what these are, and we will post everything onto our website once we have the videos posted. So what would you like to start with first?
Okay, so before I get started with the spices, I just wanted to mention I also practice, I have a lot of information about like Ayurveda. Something's a medical science from India, about 5,000 years old. And so I use a lot of that principles in my practice because it says if your mind, body, and spirit are in harmony with the universe, then you're going to feel healthy. Otherwise, you're going to get sick. And spices are a huge part of our cuisine. So that's why I really think these will help you in so many different ways. And we'll talk about that. So first, we'll go through some of the Western spices, and then we'll talk about some of the Indian. This is called a spice. If you want to show this
again? Sure.
Yeah. So this is called a spice box or a masala dabba, we call it in India. So usually we keep all of our spices over here. And then we also have some Western spices that is probably familiar with to a lot of you. And I'll also talk about some of those spices. And we're going to make 2 kinds of blends today. One is going to be an Italian spice blend, and then we're going to make a Indian curry spice blend as well. Okay, so first we have...
you want to do that?
Yes,
sure.
We can show this. So this is basil. Okay, so this is basil. I think everybody knows what basil looks like. So basil is actually, and again, we classify, or rather we describe spices based on their taste. And Ayurvedic nutrition, we talk about tastes mainly. There are 6 different tastes, and one of the main tastes in spices is pungent taste, and everybody knows what pungent is. So basil is a very pungent spice, and it's also a bitter spice. So definitely, every spice has a certain effect on the body, whether it's heating for the body or it's cooling for the body. So if it's heating for the body, that usually helps with digesting your food much better. It's almost like, if you light up the fire, you can cook things better, right? It's like that. When you put a spice in your body, it helps you digest your food, metabolize your food better, and all of that. So basil is a warming spice, and it also has anti-inflammatory properties. It is a very good for blood sugar control, for blood pressure control, and it also has a diuretic effect. So, and that's something, kidney patients have water retention, so definitely it'll help with that as well. So the next spice we have is, again, oregano. I think everybody's familiar with the oregano again. Another Italian spice, right? They always go together. Oregano is a very, very pungent spice. So it's quite heating and also drying for the body. So you don't want to use too much of it, but it's definitely helpful, especially if there's a lot of fluid retention and things like that. It's good to, eliminate that. So it's a digestive, it's a carminative, or meaning it will help you relieve gas and bloating and all of that. So a lot of people have complaints with that. It's antimicrobial. It's a very cleansing spice. So next we have marjoram. So marjoram, again, is also a pungent spice. It's not as pungent as oregano, but it is pungent. It's also a bitter spice. So because it is also very heating. Now, all of these are really heating. So definitely you don't want to have too much of it. But then when we make the blend, it'll make more sense when I talk about it. Okay. And then we have rosemary. I'm going to go through the Western spices first, just because people are more familiar with that.
Of course.
So the rosemary is, again, a very heating spice as well. Its quality is pungent, bitter, and astringent. Now, astringent is another taste we talk about in Ayurveda, which is not common in the Western thing. Astringent means it basically pulls water. So you think about dry beans or something, right? Or it pulls water when you eat it and it's drying. So that's what astringent is. So it is all three of them, and it is extremely heating, rosemary. So definitely, if you have heartburn and stuff like that, you want to eat that with caution. And of course, then we have, okay, so we'll go to garlic powder. Here we go. So garlic powder, again, there's no Italian food without garlic powder, right? Everybody loves that.
That is correct.
Yeah, so this is a pungent spice as well. And again, it's heating for the body, so it helps you digest your food so much better. So these are some of the things that we'll be using for our Italian spice blend down the road. So next I wanted to talk about, any questions so far, Melissa? Everything clear?
No, I think everything's clear on that. Yeah.
Okay, good. So now we'll go on to our Indian spices. Now, these are some things, maybe some of them you might have heard of it, some of them may be, new to you, but I'll go through them one by one, and I'll also show you the picture so you know what it looks like. So the first one we're going to look, again, black pepper is really not an Indian spice, but it is something most people use. So this is actually black pepper powder.
Move it in a little bit. Here,
Let me just go.
Here, we'll just put it so you can kind of see.
So this is what, yeah, can you see
pepper
that?
powder? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll go like
And
that.
this is the black pepper. I think everybody knows that. You can see the powder on the picture as well. So this is a very good spice. Any restaurant you go to, you're going to get the spices, and it also helps with digestion. And the nice thing about black pepper versus cayenne pepper is it also has a little bit of water element in it. So it doesn't cause a lot of heartburn or anything like that. It's not as bad for the stomach as maybe using like chili powder or cayenne pepper. So it's a better alternative to that. Again, it also gives you that zing when you eat your food. So that is one thing. And then the next one is, we'll go to cinnamon. Now, cinnamon, this is what these are the cinnamon sticks, if you've seen those, or maybe not, or maybe you've just seen the powder form. So this is what it looks like, the cinnamon. It's kind of like a reddish brown spice. It is also a pungent, it is sweet, and it is bitter in taste, and it is heating spice as well. It boosts the digestive fire in the body, so it helps you digest food better. There are studies that have shown that it's really good for diabetes as well. And it's an anti-inflammatory, it's an antihypertensive spice. So it's a good thing to add to your oatmeal or to your soups or any.
I like putting it in decaf coffee or tea. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can even make like a cinnamon tea
Yeah.
if you like the taste of it, and especially in the winter time. All of these things are good, and of course it gives a really nice aroma in the house as well. And of course apple pie.
Right.
And put cinnamon in there. So so the next spice is coriander. So that is a typically Indian spice. Some people might have heard of it, some people might not have heard of it, but I'm sure many of you probably know about the cilantro. That's also coriander. Those are coriander leaves. Excuse me.
Which I would say, I just learned that because in another episode, we're going to be cooking like a curried chickpea stew, and it calls for coriander or the cilantro. So I was like, oh, that's what the leaves are.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. And I've never actually seen the coriander seeds. So that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, so when you eat the seeds, they're actually more drying and more potent, versus when you eat the leaves, it's a little less potent. But coriander itself is a very cooling spice. So where is my coriander powder here?
I think it's here, right here.
This one, yeah. You want to show every time then? This one? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is what a coriander powder looks like. And I mean, it is also it's a kind of like a bitter sweet taste. It also has an astringent taste. Thank you. And it is cooling in nature. So really it is the opposite of all the others I've talked about so far. So we tend to use more of that in our Indian cuisine, especially if you have coriander a certain amount, we have less of the other heating spices. So it kind of balances it out so you're not burning your stomach. And then it's very good for digestion. It is because it's a cooling spice, you can do so many different things with it. You can actually put the seeds in like water the night before and then drink the water in the morning. It helps with heartburn. So it actually settles your stomach as well. And it's an anti-inflammatory as well, and it's a good diuretic too. It helps you go to the bathroom more. And okay, so the next spice we're going to talk about is cumin.
I love cumin.
Yeah, so like coriander and cumin are considered like sister spices.
Okay.
Because cumin is heating, coriander is cooling.
Okay.
So they kind of like balance each other out.
Sure.
So if you're taking a certain amount of coriander, you would take like half the amount of cumin because the heating is so much more.
So it's kind of interesting because I feel like in a lot of, if I'm doing like a Latin American or like Mexican inspired dish, they use a lot of like cumin, and they'll use like the cilantro. So it's kind of interesting, just like,
Yes.
the use of the same like spice or herb in, different ethnic cooking.
Right. I think Mexican food, they use a lot. Of course, chilies too, they use cumin. They add cumin in that.
Yep.
Because they like that heat.
Yeah.
But in India too, we like the heat, but at the same time, we don't want to, like hurt ourselves.
Right.
So we put that coriander to kind of balance it out.
Sure.
And then there are people who cannot tolerate a lot of heat either. That's why it's good to do that. So it's a very, very pungent herb. It is very heating. It is a good diuretic. It really, and then we actually can make a tea with the cumin if you're, if you want to go to the bathroom or whatever, or you feel bloated or something. It actually helps you relieve a lot of the gas, and it's anti-inflammatory. It's good for respiratory disorders as well. And this is what the seeds look like, and this is the powder. You can see in the picture over here. So the next spice is, this is fennel. Now, fennel is also very unique in the Indian cuisine. It looks very similar to cumin if you look at it. It's kind of like a greenish color. Let me move this. I think this is... Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is something, if you like Indian cuisine, you might have gone to an Indian restaurant, you would see it at the entrance. They would have a bowl of this because this is very good for digestion. You can just chew these seeds, and it helps you get rid of any gas or bloating that you have in your stomach. And it's a diuretic, and it is, but this is a cooling spice again.
Okay.
So same thing, you can do like the coriander, you can put it in the water and drink the water. It actually cools you down. So if you're feeling really hot, and that's something.
And I think with fennel too, correct me if I'm wrong, you want to, depending on, the flavor you want, you may use less fennel or a little bit more. It has a little bit of like a licorice kind of a flavor. And I know I don't particularly like black licorice. It has that black licorice flavor. So if you kind of use a little less, you're mixing with other things, it kind of masks some of that licorice. Taste. Yeah,
that is true, and it has a very, very soothing, sweet flavor.
Yeah.
So that's why people like that taste. And then usually when you eat the fennel and then you drink some water with it, actually sweet, you feel sweetness in your mouth. So and it's also astringent in the sense it like I said, it absorbs the water, so it absorbs the saliva after you eat.
Okay.
So then when you do that, then you don't have cravings. But we typically end up eating dessert at the end, which actually creates cravings. When you chew this one, cuts down your cravings. So that's something to think about. And of course, we may not use it in the mix today, but I just wanted to show what it is.
Sure.
And also you can make fennel tea with that. Any of these things you can make tea with. Herbal tea, of course. So I think we talked about all of them except the last one, right? No, we have two more.
Yeah, we have ginger and turmeric.
We have ginger and turmeric. Okay, let's do ginger next. So let's get to the picture. Okay, so I think ginger is something many people would have seen. You have the ginger. It is a root. It's a rhizome, and so it is this is a fresh ginger picture. This is like powder, ginger powder, and you can definitely make tea. You can make just ginger tea, or you can add other spices in there and make ginger, or you can even use your masala chai. Usually has a ginger in it, if you've had those. So the fresh ginger. I mean, obviously the powder is always more drying, more heating. Anything that is dried up and it's concentrated, so naturally it's more pungent. The ginger root is also very mild. So again, it is a blood thinner. It's a natural blood thinner. So if you are taking Coumadin, you want to be cautious about that. But again, if you're using a little bit of ginger root in your cooking, it's not going to hurt you and it'll be fine. It actually is very good for digestion. It does increase your metabolism. It does increase your digestive fire. So where is that? Is this it?
Right there. Yep.
This is the one. Okay, so this is what the powder looks like, and we're going to be using that in our mix as well. And like I said before, if you're taking Coumadin and if you think you're kind of nervous about that, then you can just omit that, and that's okay. And then last one, I think we have one more to go through.
Yep.
Turmeric. Oh, okay, turmeric. Everybody loves turmeric, the wonder spice, right? It's a superfood. So again, most people, this is what it's also a root, just like ginger. This is what the turmeric root looks like. You could get these fresh at the market as well. You can use them in cooking. And then you also get the turmeric powder. This is what the powder looks like. And it is definitely anti-inflammatory. That's what it's known for. And then everybody talks about the curcumin, which is a tablet form, but definitely our body recognizes actual food, whole foods, rather
Right.
than going and taking. And again, curcumin, you're removing one ingredient out of this thing. This has so many flavonoids, which are really good for the body.
Right.
We don't even know how they help us, but they do. So it's better to always go with the natural product than to buy some kind of a pill and think
Right.
that it's going to have some effect. So these are all good. Again, this can be added to anything by itself. For coloring, I even add it to macaroni and cheese sometimes
okay.
because
Sure.
it gives you the flavoring. The color. So what else? I think we pretty
we
much
covered
covered
it.
everything.
Yeah.
It's a blood purifier, of course. It's good for the liver, and then I think it's good for wound healing and hyperlipidemia. So a lot of studies about turmeric.
Great.
If you're interested in knowing.
So I think we're going to now shift and start making our spices. So I'm going to just pull these up again. So the first one we're going to make is,
Okay.
which one? The Italian.
You know what? Actually,
Which one would you like to do?
let's demo that. Let them see what we're doing. So we can. I have the paper here. We can just. I'll mention.
Oh, that's
what I'm
fine.
doing.
Yeah, I just wanted to
Right.
pull that up. So
Right.
we're going to.
So we're gonna make the Italian spice blend.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll go back to overhead. Do you want to? Can you do that there? Or?
Yeah, I'll do it here.
Okay.
We don't need this
move
anymore.
this.
We can move that out of there. Here we go. All right, perfect. So this is, first I'm going to add basil.
Okay.
So that's about 2 tablespoons of dried basil. Let me get my tablespoon here. Again, I've made these proportions in their degree of heat, so it's not too spicy, but again, it gives a beautiful flavor. So that's 1 and 2 spoons. And then next we're going to add some garlic powder, about a tablespoon of garlic powder. Like I said before, garlic powder is very pungent, so you don't want to add too much of it. And again, not everybody likes that garlicky flavor, right? I mean, the
Right.
smell.
Some people don't.
Some people
I
don't.
love garlic.
I
so.
know, some people sweat. Okay, here we go. That's 1 tablespoon of garlic powder. Again, these are all approximate measurements. You can always vary them based on your taste. And then a tablespoon of marjoram. Here we go.
And what's nice about making your own spice mix too is that, kind of what Push was saying, you kind of can control it and you can vary your flavor for that, but then you also will have a lot to, last for multiple recipes, and you don't have to worry about added salt, which a lot of times you buy a mix in the store and they're going to have added salt in them. So this way you're definitely controlling the amount of product that's in it, but then also getting something that's salt-free.
Yeah, and I added a tablespoon of oregano, and now I'm going to add about a teaspoon of rosemary. Remember I mentioned before, rosemary is very dry and very heating.
Yep.
So you want to use less of that. So I'm adding just a teaspoon of that. And again, these are nice. I mean, if you feel it's too grainy, you can always grind it up.
Sure.
The other thing you could do is also, you can put them in like one of those shaker bottles, like these kinds that you can get,
sure.
and then you can take them with you in your purse if you're going out. So you can flavor your food with that, whether you're eating soup or anything. Pretty much, you can add it to that. And then the last ingredient we have is crushed black pepper powder, so which is over here.
Yep.
So we're gonna add about a teaspoon of that.
It's right here.
Yeah. Okay, so now you just give it a good mix. And again, we don't add salt to this. We just want the spices. Again, I've seen
Smells good.
Yeah, it smells great. I wish you could smell it over the TV, but you can't. But I've seen a lot of spice blends on YouTube that they actually add salt to it. So we don't want to do
right.
that. We want to, because we're trying to limit the salt, so we don't want to do it. Then you can pour it in one of these kind of shaker bottles if you have one of these, and then use them at home, or you can just keep them in a bottle like this, airtight bottle, and use it whenever you need it. Okay, so, and these would be good to add on salads, soups, stews, I mean, anything really. Whatever you cook with, you can add them. And the Instant Pot is very common now, so you can add it to anything in the Instant Pot and be done with it.
I love my
Yeah, Instant Pot. Yeah, me too. Okay, so this is, well, if you can see it. This is what it looks like.
There are a few other brands that also do electronic pressure cooking, so I know that's one of the more popular ones.
I know, that is popular.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the next one we're going to make is the Indian spice blend. curry in the. You want to?
Do you want to put it in the bowl or in there? You want to just
No, I'm gonna put it in the bowl. Let's put it in the bowl because I
Okay.
can see it better. Then
Yeah.
we can
Yep,
transfer
put it in
later
there.
on.
Perfect.
Okay, let's get the thing. Okay.
So is
first-
there anything that when they are cooking with spices, is there any type of cookware that maybe someone needs to be careful of with particular spices, or does it not matter? So if they wanted to use like a cast iron skillet, that's fine. Or if they needed to use like a, stainless steel skillet, is there any, issue with certain spices and cookware?
No, there isn't issues. But I was thinking maybe we'll just finish the thing and then.
Of course.
Then
No,
I can
no.
explain
Yeah.
a few. I thought I had a couple of ideas I can share about that too.
Sure.
So let's start with the Indian spice. Will be coriander powder. This is the coriander. So we're gonna put like I said before, it's a cooling spice. So you could add more of that. So I'm putting about 3 tablespoons into the bowl. Again, like I said, these are all again approximate. It doesn't mean etched in stone or anything like that. You can definitely vary based on your taste and whatever you like better. And then I have a teaspoon over here. So then I put like 3 tablespoons of that, and then I'm gonna put 1 tablespoon of cumin powder, like 1/3 of that. Like I said, these are the sister spices, so they need to go together. Okay, that's it. And then you have a tablespoon. Well, I'm not putting the fennel today because I only have the seeds, but then I am going to put black pepper, about a tablespoon of black pepper. Now you can add the black pepper in the end because one thing I'd like to do with the spices is to roast them sometimes. If you want to carry it with you and add it outside when you're going to a restaurant or something, it's good to roast them.
Sure.
If you have steamed vegetables, then you can add them to that. So then it's better to roast them so it's not. So in those cases, like you were talking about the cookware, it's good to put some oil and then not actually you don't even have to put oil. You can actually just dry roast them.
Sure.
Basically, the cumin, the coriander, and the turmeric, you can dry roast them. The black pepper and the ginger, you can add it as is, and the cinnamon. You don't have to dry roast those things. Okay, so we got the black pepper in. Let's get the ginger. No, this is the ginger. Okay. So we got about a teaspoon of ginger. Again, remember, ginger is a very, very pungent spice. You want to less of that. And then we put a little bit of turmeric powder, about a teaspoon. Again, turmeric again is very bitter, so if you don't like too much of it, you can just put half a teaspoon. I'm just going to put half a teaspoon for now. And then we got cinnamon. Again, cinnamon, very, very heating spice. So definitely put only like a teaspoon of it, or again, even less is also okay. Because I've had patients tell me that doesn't agree with them. So it all,
Sure.
again, everybody just listen to your body. What the body tells you, it'll tell you exactly what you need, rather than, okay, so basically this is what the Indian curry spice looks like. Again, this is just one type, remember that. You can always make any kind you like. And that's the nice thing about, and this way you don't have to worry about spice blend. Like Mrs. Dash, for example, it's a good salt substitute, but at the same time it has a lot of potassium in it. So we don't want, and a lot of the kidney patients have problems with potassium, so you don't want to deal with that. So it's better to make your own spice blend. Okay, so this is nicely done. And this is something you can actually even add, if you're making tea or something, you can add it as a spice blend for that as well. A little pinch of that, it'll give you that zing, especially in the winter time, or just hot water like an herbal tea. You can even do that. It's all individual taste. Okay, all right. So this is what it looks like, the spice blend.
And then we got one more.
No, I think we're done. That's
we're done? Okay.
Yeah, we're only doing these two.
Oh, okay.
We're not doing the
Mexican one. Okay.
No, yeah. But we have the recipe. If you want to share it
Right.
online, you
and
can do that.
Yeah, I will share that one more time. And then again, we will post these once we post the videos. So, you'll have access to all these different spice blend recipes. But I want to thank Pushpa for joining us today and making these amazing smelling spice mixes. Anything you want to wrap up and tell the viewers before we end?
Well, I just wanted to say that, you of course, definitely make your own spice blends and experiment with each of these. Now, again, you don't have to start with the spice blend. You can always just, try one at a time and add them separately. You can add them individually as well. And if you're making a soup or whatever you're making, or stir fries, you can add it for stir fries. So if you're making a stir fry, then you can just heat up some oil and then saute the spices first, because it really opens up the flavor of the food. And then you make, and I even make stir fries with pasta with vegetables, with olive oil and some spices. You don't need to put the sauce, because a lot of people have restrictions with tomato sauce and things like that. So definitely you can just make like a stir fry. Italian Italian stir fry, or you use your Italian blend and make that Italian stir fry. So experiment with each of these spices and see which one you really like, and also pay attention to your body. You know, if anything is hurting you, or if it's too hot or whatever, then you can definitely cut it down.
Great. Well, thank you again for coming, and I hope you enjoyed the spice mixes.
Yeah, thank you, and enjoy, and have a spicy life.
I love it. Until next time. Bye.
Okay.